Good evening. Welcome to the County Board meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could get a roll call, please. I have Supervisors Gilmore, Dodge, Hallman, and O'Day are excused tonight. 2, 3, 4. Okay. That comes later, Jeff. We'll go ahead and open it up to citizen comments. Citizen comments. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Amy Regina. My address is 4529 29th Avenue in Kenosha. I am an employee in the dietary department at Brookside Care Center and have been employed for Kenosha County for over 28 years. I am here to be a voice for our department and coworkers. We are here to call on our county board members to help us in our fight for keeping Kenosha County workers as Kenosha County employees. When our administrator, Fran Petrick, brought Unidyne in to manage the dietary department, she and Jim Cruiser both stated on several occasions that we would remain Kenosha County employees. Now they are changing their stories. Their new phrase is, "It's all about business." Well, I'm sorry, but when did caring for elderly or disabled get downgraded? We understand this is a business, but we are not a factory assembly line. Our residents and clients are special people and deserve the best care, food, respect, and the best staff, the best facility to take care of all their needs. We were rated a 5-star facility, but are slowly losing that title. When employees are overworked, not given breaks, understaffed, and treated as if we are not important, that brings down morale, which can cause interference in proper work performance. Due to poor management from Unidyne and treatment toward the dietary employees, approximately half of our staff has quit or retired. As of this Friday, we have a total of 12 coworkers that have left. By the end of August, 3 more will be giving their notices of retirement and quitting. All of this has happened in 4 or 5 months of Unidyne being brought in. Due to the poor management and staff leaving, that is the reason they are leaving. They threaten us by saying we will take away our PTO time, even if it's already been approved and planned out. Can anyone tell me why kitchen workers can't get enough help, but the management team in the office has doubled their staff to 4, when in the prior year of 2016, we had 2 full-time salaries that covered what they are now paying 4 people to do, along with wages and benefits. But they're not able to keep helping our department or help us work. It's falling apart. Some of the board members here, I know I've had family members there at Brookside. I hope you will continue helping us keep Brookside a 5-star facility and support the coworkers who have put in 5, 10, 20, and 30 plus years to being the best facility while respecting and caring of our Kenosha County employees also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Kathy Million, 11820 26th Avenue, Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. With Amy's, I had written down a lot of the stuff that Amy had stated to you, but for a temporary situation for the dietary people to do, they have to haul the food from the back of the nursing home up the driveway, which is on a hill, an upcline, and bring the main meal food over to the new building to be served. Then they do this 6 times a day. Then they have to haul these carts back. With them being short of staff, we have an employee that is shorter than me. I can rest my elbow on her head. And she is required to haul these carts up the hill. We offer to help her, and she says, no, I'll do it. They made a temporary tunnel, and it's on the incline up to the new building. It's not a straight shot. When it rains, we had nothing but mud in there. They couldn't use the tunnel because it was raining, and the dirt off the incline where they had done some construction work, it ran down into the tunnel. We also have rain that runs through the tunnel. So, not that I have a good hairdo, but if I walk through this tunnel when it's raining, I have a whole new different look by the time I get to the other building. Oh, dear. We were wondering, laundry was contracted out, and now dietary is contracted out. Is it the plan of Kenosha County to sell Brookside Care Center? If so, we would like to know so that our people that are working there have a heads up. Because the writing to me looks like it's on the wall. We built this brand new facility, we're rehabbing the nursing home, redoing that. It's 20 years plus old. And I don't know, we just got new flooring in there, and rumor has it we're going to have carpeting over there. I invite every single one of you to come over there and look at that carpeting. That was the worst idea, to put carpeting in there. We are forever cleaning stains up on it, trying to keep it up. We have the tools to do it with, but we don't have the manpower. Life is messy. And carpeting is very hard to clean when you have other job duties to do besides clean carpet. I hope that you guys can help us with this predicament of no help in the dietary department. We had 3 cooks retire this month. And I don't know, I think we're going to be going out for McDonald's or something. I mean, there's so much time they have to prep. They bring in fresh food, they have to prep everything and try to get it to the new building. I know I was here at a meeting and they said, well, I suppose you're going to need more help when you get the new building. And I didn't realize that this was what was going to happen. Yes, we need more help over there to take care of our people. So I do invite you to come over. I mean, we keep the carpet up good, but I mean, we have residents that spill stuff, and it's on a daily basis. We're forever cleaning carpet. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Shirley Varnell. I live at 4901 29th Avenue, Kenosha, Wisconsin. I don't have anything written. I'm just speaking on facts. I understand, and I keep hearing the word business, but that any business, you're selling a product. We are the product of Brookside. Our housekeepers, me as a CNA, our dietary department. And the reason that all this was able to be done, building new buildings, from the first new building to this one, is because of the product that stands before you. It's this back here. We are the product. You're selling us. We give 5-star care. But when the morale goes down, it's harder for us to come in with a smile. When we see our brothers and sisters struggling and being treated the way they've been treated, especially when they got 30 years, 25 years there, you know, they on the countdown. And that's all they want. We want to continue giving that. We even see it in our family members' faces, and they're asking us questions. We don't really know what to say, and the only thing I can tell them to come talk to you guys. But like I said, in any great business, you have to have a great product to give the people, to present to the people. And you have to take care of that product. You have to make sure your product is working well and in great condition. So we're just asking you to keep Brookside a well-working oil machine like we have been for all these years, who put you in the newspaper, who's put Brookside on the map. It's us. This is who the family sees. We are who the residents love. It's us that they see every day. We put ourselves in the line every day to make sure they're happy. We see some of your family members there that love us also. I'm just saying, keep considering us, don't forget about us, and remember that we are that great product. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? And close citizen comments for the night. We will move on to announcements of the chair. I would like to give a special warm welcome to our youth and governance. Sitting over here, we have, and I'm probably going to screw up your names a little bit, Isabella Ricker from Legislative, Aubriana Medke from Legislative, Aiden Moore from Public Works, and Janaki Rawal from Joint Services. Did I do okay? Okay. Good. I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about the flooding that we've had in Kenosha County this week. I know it's been a very difficult week for everyone here, and our hearts certainly go out to the victims of the floods. Many people have lost everything, and no words can comfort anyone who's going through this at this time. However, many county services have been and are being extended to them. I know that Riverside is opening up tomorrow, and we'll have some Red Cross people on hand to help them. There's a multi-agency response center that will open at noon tomorrow at Riverside and go until 8 o'clock, and that's over in Silver Lake. There will be many different types of agencies involved offering assistance all in one spot. Please urge your constituents to attend the MARC, the multi-agency, I know we use acronyms, Multi-Agency Response Center. Please suggest they visit the Kenosha County government Facebook page. I know that we have a bunch of stuff up there now. There are frequent updates as the community continues to work through cleanup and recovery. And it also talks about road openings. I know that Highway 50 was open tonight when some people came in. I want to give a special thank you to the County Executive Cruiser, Sheriff Beth, and all of the Sheriff's Department, the Highway Department, all of Public Works, the Health Department, Human Services, Joint Services dispatchers, and all of the town and village leaders who have worked so hard to help our citizens. The work continues, but this is an example of how Kenosha County residents will help each other in times of need. I know that I have spent hours helping my next door neighbors and the neighbors down my street help clean up their basements, as well as taking care of my own that flooded this week, or last week. I just want to remind everyone to please, when you're calling in to get additional information for your constituents, to please use the chain of command, either talk to emergency management or please contact the executive's office and they can help you with that. It's more disruptive if you're trying to call a department head and try to get the information that way, so please just follow the chain of command on that. I hope that everyone is doing well. I know it's very difficult, especially out in the county. We've had a lot of closings out there. But I think we're on the mend. I know that Wilmot Grade School or Wilmot High School finally opened today, and Dennis, you said 50 was open tonight when you came in, correct? Yeah. Yeah. So that's it for Chairman comments. I will go ahead and open it up to Supervisor comments. Supervisor Decker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just to touch on the flooding a little bit in Salem Lakes, or actually more specifically Silver Lake and Wheatland, there's homes that are far, far outside the floodplain that had water up to their doors surrounding the house. I counted via just a rough estimate from Silver Lake up to Louisa's, that back way, which is known as, I believe, Shorewood Terrace. Approximately 130 homes probably had water up to their home, surrounding their homes, and we're talking homes that were far, far outside the floodplain, probably a block, 2 blocks out of the floodplain, so these homes did not have flood insurance. And because it was a flood, they probably will not have insurance to cover it. Their homeowner's insurance will not cover it because it was a flood instead of sewer backup or a failed sump pump. So these these families are at a complete loss. So help from the county is great. They're going to be coming in tomorrow at that resource fair. So just keep them in your prayers because they're going through a rough time. A lot of them, we went and talked and they were angry. They were upset, but it wasn't that they were upset. They were just upset because they were so overwhelmed. And by the time you get done talking to them, a lot of them, they just want someone to hear, to listen to them. By the time that you get done talking to them, you're giving them a hug, and you can see the tears welling them up in their eyes just because they're so overwhelmed. And they don't know what to do because this has never happened before. And so just keep them in your prayers. I'm glad that Highway 50 is open because for those of you that did not know, Highway C was the only east-west route that you could get west of the river on, or east of the river, depending upon where you live. For me to get to church, which is actually a 5.7-mile drive, normally took 25 minutes to get to because of the detours that we had to take. So we're very happy that the roads have been opened up. Very grateful to Clement and his staff for quickly repairing roads. We had roads that washed out completely at culverts that are actually opened up before Highway 50, which is amazing that we were able to repair completely washed out roads before the water even receded. So I just wanted to comment on that. Now with the committee updates. The Planning and Development Extension Education Committee on Wednesday, the night of the rains, passed a conditional use permit for Brighton Woods Orchard, Inc., to allow retail sales in the A3 Agricultural Related Manufacturing Warehouse and Marketing District in the town of Brighton. So we did that, and that won't come before the committee because it is a CUP. Bev Baker was appointed or selected the UW Extension Area Extension Director for our two-county group consortium. She is actually from Racine County, so she is our new UW Extension Area Director. And then I have one more thing that was brought up in our PDEC work session on Tuesday. The Planning Development Extension Education, the Planning Development Department actually has a intern working this summer, and one of his jobs is to assist in helping, and this was what really shocked me, the county has approximately 100 properties that are 3 years or overdue on their taxes. This is money that the county is not receiving in taxes, and we actually have to pay the portion out to the municipalities that they are arrears on their taxes. Tax deeds are allowed to go out after tax deed purchases are allowed to go after 3 years, but we have over 1,000 properties that have not had this happen. This is money that we as a county are basically out of. We're talking about millions of dollars. So I would like the Finance Committee, please, to get a report on this. And let me say, some of these properties are 12 years in arrears on taxes, not just 3, 12. If the Finance Committee could get a report on this, and I request that you give the entire county board an update, and then quarterly updates on the status of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. From Public Works facilities, naturally, everyone knows what happened to Public Works this past week, but as someone that grew up on the Fox River, and I still have 18 acres there, well, I actually have 14 right now that aren't underwater, but the turnaround was my driveway on Highway F when it closed, Highway W, Highway B. Silver Lake was a little island. Wilmot was a little more of an island, as Supervisor Decker said. But the thing that happened to the poor people that lost property and were underwater is one thing, but the thing that I'm reporting to you is what our people had to do. We at Public Works naturally had to drop everything. Scheduling, our paving commitments. We had shoulder work when Highway F finally opened up from the flagpole almost to the Dairy Queen in Silver Lake. That was a 1.5 to 2 feet dug out with fish flopping out of that. We had to do Highway O in the Twin Lakes, a huge culvert out, K, huge culvert out. So things were dropped. There was, scheduling was no more. Golf courses were closed, naturally. I'm very tired of reporting how poorly we're doing because of the weather with golf courses, but that was even a bigger commitment last week. Cart paths there. The maintenance people, I see our parks people every morning, and what they have to do just to get the mowers into some parks, with the roads washed out. So I guess what I'm saying is budgets don't allow for this, so certain things are going to change, certain things that we can do, can't do. Our people have been great. Highway department people, sheriff's department people, the overtime and things that they've put in. But projects have been put back, for the priorities, what we've had to do. On the regular business end of it, for facilities, highways and parks, the Brookside project is on schedule right now, and that is the redoing of the original facility. We also are on schedule for the second floor remodeling here. The first phase of that is the maintenance facility, which is behind us, and they are on schedule for that. The Parks anniversary, that's the last thing I'll mention. Parks anniversary, and I'm sure you've all been reading that Matt has been fantastic with his press releases. August 5th at Pets, an all-day event, and I would love to see everyone out there. It's going to be quite the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Alverman. Supervisor Boyd Frederick, you have the floor.
Thank you. The Legislative Committee passed 2 resolutions this evening, one dealing with dark stores, the other one dealing with redistricting. Both of them will come before the County Board on August 1st. And also the Senate Republicans today sent out their proposal when it came to the budget, which is right now over 2 weeks overdue, where they would borrow $712 million, and it would be taken out of programs that are usually for schools and health programs for the poor. And I have other articles on it that have been in different newspapers throughout the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also wanted to talk about the PDEC work session that PDEC Chair Decker commented on. First and foremost, I think she misspoke when she said 100 properties that are in arrears. It's over 1,000 properties that are in arrears greater than 3 years on taxes, with several that are in excess of 7 and 8 years, and a few that are 12 years behind on taxes. It's mind-boggling to me that this can be allowed to be happening. This was something that I was very passionate about from the very second I stepped foot on this floor, but being the polite person that Mama Bostrom raised, I was polite about it. I've asked many people many questions, and I still have not gotten satisfactory answers. Now, after being on this body for over a year, the politeness is going to start fading away. These are really important issues, folks. It's not like it's money that we're just not receiving. We're cutting a check to the city of Kenosha for every property that did not pay taxes in the year previous. It's a big dollar. And I, for the life of me, can't figure out how that's allocated on our budget. Maybe I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I'd like for somebody to show me how that's allocated, how those numbers are booked, how those numbers are carried, what interest rates that we're paying out, how much money we're losing year in and year out. And arguably, there's a lot of properties here that are probably not worth very much, as there's a lot of vacant land in Carroll Beach and Pleasant Prairie, for example, that's not buildable. So likely that stuff will be taken back and donated to the DNR. But there are a lot of properties that are usable. For example, I mentioned several meetings ago about a warehouse on the corner of H and C that hasn't paid taxes in 4 or 5 years. That's $500,000 that's due to the county because they haven't paid taxes. And this is a corporation that owns this $10 million asset. Now, for crying out loud, do you think if we wrote them a letter saying we're going to foreclose on your building, that they would start paying their taxes? I think they would. There's vacant land parcels. Who's the board supervisor for 65th Street and 57th Avenue? There's a subdivision over there, Forest Meadows, 13 little lots. 8 years they haven't paid taxes. Now, the taxes on a single-family lot might be $1,000 a year, but compounded over 8 years, that gets up to $8,000. But it's not just that $8,000, you're missing the opportunity on the house that could be built on it. That might be a $250,000 asset that's paying taxes to the county, to the city, to Unified, to Gateway. This is a huge issue, folks. So I would also like to impress upon everybody here to get involved and figure out why this is happening and why we are not correcting the situation. I hope to have these answers soon, as I hope all of you hope to have these answers soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Supervisor Wample, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to lighten things up just a little bit. I want to let everyone know about our upcoming National Night Out events in the county. There's one in Twin Lakes. There's going to be 5 in the Kenosha city area. It's where you come out, you meet your neighbors, you meet your local law enforcement. The 5 locations in Kenosha will be at Lord of Life Lutheran Church on Washington Road, the Boys and Girls Club on 52nd Street and 14th Avenue, Wesley Methodist Church on 60th Street and 46th Avenue, and Lincoln Park, as well as St. Paul's Lutheran Church on 86th and 37th Avenue. At these events, there will be free food, entertainment, community groups will be there, games, contests for kids. You'll meet your local law enforcement, the personnel, as well as fancy equipment. The Sheriff's Department's going to bring out the MRAP. There may even be a drone demonstration. The K-9 unit will be out there. It's really a community building event. So I encourage you all, if you have some time on Tuesday, August 1st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., maybe visit one of the sites. I know it's a county board meeting night, but starts at 5, so maybe you can stop out ahead of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Wamble. Seeing no other lights, we will go ahead and move on.
New business, ordinance 1, reading 9 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding Brighton Woods Orchard Incorporated owner, William H. Stone agent, requests an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 54 of the comprehensive plan, from farmland protection, PEC, to SEC, to farmland protection, general agricultural and open land, PEC, and SEC, town of Brighton. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Galitsky, excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Decker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This property is located on the west side of...
Can you move
Oh,
that
I'm sorry.
first?
Move ordinance 9.
I have a first by Supervisor Decker and a second by Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Decker.
Thank you. This property is located on the west side of County Highway B, 288th Avenue, approximately 1/4 mile north of the intersection with State Highway 142, which is Burlington Road. The comprehensive plan amendment would allow a revision of map 65 of the comprehensive plan from farmland protection, PEC and SEC, to farmland protection, general agricultural and open land, PEC and SEC. The town of Brighton recommended approval of the request.
Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Ordinance 10 from the Planning Development and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding Brighton Woods Orchards Incorporated owner William H. Stone agent, requesting a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District and C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District to A1 Agricultural Preservation District, A3 Agriculture-Related Manufacturing, Warehousing, and Marketing District, and C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District, Town of Brighton. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Galitsky, excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, no.
Supervisor Decker.
Move ordinance 10, please.
I have a first by Supervisor Decker and a second by Supervisor Bostrom. Supervisor Decker.
Thank you. This is the same property as ordinance 9. The rezoning would allow for the existing agricultural production operations. The Town of Brighton recommended approval of the request.
Thank you, Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to explain myself as you hear that I seconded the motion for this rezone at committee level, but then voted against it. And here's my reason. The previous item, this item, and then the conditional use permit were all on the same agenda. And we had discussed it at our work session the previous day. And this property, if nobody's familiar with it, is on a rural road in Brighton. The gentleman that operates it has an orchard. He has turned the orchard into a successful business where there is now a winery, and they produce many other products and sell those products on site. They sell related agricultural products and some products that are not related to agriculture on that site. And so he had been operating illegally for his zoning for a number of years, which is why this rezoning was taking place, so that he could be in compliance. As part of the conditional use permit, since there is one road into this property, and it is pretty busy, as I understand it, on the weekends, there's one small 8-foot road coming into the property. It's been complained by neighbors that it backlogs traffic up and down this rural road. So one of the conditions on the CUP was that the owner had to widen that road to 16 feet or 18 feet, maybe it was even 20 feet, enough so that they could have two-way traffic so that it would alleviate some of the bottleneck. After I made the motion, after I seconded the motion for this rezone, the petitioner came forward and basically said that he doesn't understand why that condition is in the conditional use permit, as he had no intention of widening the road. That's the first he had ever heard about it, and that he have several years to work that into his business plan. Well, I probably should have withdrawn my motion, but I wound up voting against the rezone, understanding that the property owner was not interested in doing it. Then we got to the CUP, and I thought we were going to keep the CUP, that condition in there that he would have to widen the road. Some debate took place, and then a motion was made to completely withdraw that item from the CUP. So now this person doesn't ever have to widen the road, and that bottleneck will continue in perpetuity. So you won't see that I voted against the CUP, but I did, and that's the reason why I voted against this rezone, because I think that that's a safety issue that should have been addressed, and I'm sorry that it wasn't.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I oppose that also.
So what do we have to vote?
Also,
Want to do roll call? Just do roll call.
okay, we're going to do a roll call on this. What?
Oh, now it failed.
It fails. So, they need. I don't know. I don't know if we've ever had one like this before, Andy. I would suggest that it goes back on the agenda and try to work that out with the homeowner and get that road widened.
Okay, are we moving on?
All right, moving on.
All right. Ordinance 11 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding Kenneth A. and Elizabeth A. Moore, owner, requesting a rezoning from A2 General Agricultural District, M3 Mineral Extraction District, and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District to R1 Rural Residential District and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District, Town of Brighton. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Decker, you have the floor. Oh, hold on. There you go.
Was my mic not on?
It is now.
Okay, move ordinance 11, please.
I have a first by Supervisor Decker and a second by Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Decker.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. This property is located on the east side of 301st Avenue, approximately 300 feet north of the intersection with 49th Street. The rezoning would correct the lot line boundaries and correct district classification to better reflect current wetland and property conditions to comply with the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreland Floodplain Zoning Ordinance. The Town of Brighton recommended approval of the request.
Thank you, Supervisor Decker. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 19 from Chairwoman Brunig and Judiciary and Law, a resolution to approve the appointment of Jeffrey Gens to serve on the Joint Services Board. Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, excused. Wamble, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 19.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau and a second by Supervisor Boyd Frederick. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a reappointment for Supervisor Jeff Gens to the Joint Services Board. He is succeeding himself. I don't see any reason why not to support him. You can ask him any questions you want since he's here. He wasn't at the meeting. That's all I have.
Supervisor Blau. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution 20 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution authorizing and providing for the issuance of not to exceed $5,315,000 general obligation law enforcement enhancement bonds, providing for the notification and sale of said bonds and other related details. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, excused.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
Thank you, and I would move Resolution 20.
I have a first by Supervisor Rose and a second by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. These bonds are 20-year bonds totaling $5,315,000. I think it is well to know that these bonds were originally larger. They were some $12 million plus $12,050,000 originally, but that sum has now been reduced to the resolution amount of $5,315,000. That is due to the fact that Highway S project had been deleted this year because of the uncertainty surrounding the potential expansion of the airport. If that occurs, that would impact that intersection near the airport, and of course, we don't want to be doing this Highway S project if we are uncertain about what that intersection will involve, and so therefore the idea was postponed. We still have the authorization to bring it back at another time, and that may very well happen, but we have to wait and see what the airport is going to do. At least the proposal or the thoughts from the city is some expansion project. Therefore, the bond was reduced. Thus, if you look at page 3 of the resolution, you will see what is left, and this is why we call it law enforcement enhancement bonds, because it involves an appropriation and for the Sheriff's Storage Building, the Fleet Service Building, and the Public Safety Building Medical Examiner's Office, which will be completed. These bonds, the bonds in the past have been rated AA+ by both Standard & Poor's and Fitch, and it is the intent to make a presentation at the end of the month, again with respect to the bonds for rating, and we'll certainly report the result of that rating after they have considered it. The committee passed it, and we urge your support this evening.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps is someone from Eilers here this evening? Yes. Just a quick question. I didn't see it in the report. Do we know what the coupon is that's going to be associated with this bond offering?
I can give you the, we did provide Supervisor an estimate. It's in the pre-sale report document. The blended average rate on these bonds is currently projected at approximately 3.5%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Seeing no other questions, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 21 from the Finance and
Does it
Under the rules, a roll call is only
There you go.
Under the rules, a roll call is only required if something other than a simple majority is needed. And this is a simple majority vote.
Roll call has been requested. Pardon? Yes, if you are voting for the resolution. No, if you are against the resolution. Motion passes.
Resolution 21 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution authorizing and providing for the issuance of not to exceed $13,255,000 general obligation promissory notes, providing for the notification and sale of said notes and other related details. Rose, yes. Frederick, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, excused.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
I would move resolution number 21 on behalf of the Finance Committee.
I have a first by Supervisor Rose and a second by Supervisor Kubicki. Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. These are 10-year notes consistent with what at least we believe to be the useful life of the item. All of the items have been appropriated in the 2017 budget, and they are listed in the pre-sale report on your desk from Eilers. If you would look at page 6, you will see a complete listing of those which have been approved in the 2017 budget. I would bring to your attention one a change or addition was $500,000 was added to the item grants for Kenosha Area Business Alliance. Originally, that was $250,000 in the 2015 budget. After consultation with the CABA, Mr. Battle, and the County Executive's Office proposed that we add to it $500,000 in the event that it is necessary to respond to some larger development or additional developments that we didn't anticipate when we passed the 2015 budget. We're not suggesting that the $500,000 is for any particular company or project, but we thought it was prudent to add that in there for this high impact fund. The other $15,000 is for the costs of involved with the bonds. So thus the amount of $765,000 instead of the original $250,000. So that would be the only change.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the representative from Eilers, same question as previous. These are 10-year notes, right?
Correct. So these are shorter in duration, and therefore the estimated interest rate is going to be lower. We are projecting an average blended rate on that of between 2.05 and 2.25%. Now, these, of course, will be established by competitive bid on the day that you sell, and the award would go to the lowest bidder.
One additional follow-up question, and those rates are fairly close to the 10-year U.S. Note, and truth be told, I don't really follow 20-year bonds as they're not actively traded. Can you give me a ballpark on how closely the previous items blended rate would be to current market rates? Would it be similar to this?
They would be within about 15 to 20 basis points.
Okay, so a touch higher.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Supervisor Retzloff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the things that Terry just mentioned, Supervisor Rose, about the CABA involvement, when we went through this in the Finance Committee, it's a little setback that someone from CABA wasn't there. On the blind, we're giving them another $500,000 for the High Impact Fund, which I am for. I'm supporting this, but I expressed a concern that I think we need a little bit more communication with them, at least at the Finance Committee level. We're now getting a pretty good substantial amount of money to their fund. Everything has been successful with them, so I'm not here to complain on that, but I did express a concern on this money that really we are blind trusting them with. Now, you can argue that it's a good thing, and I agree, but I did bring it up, and I guess there's someone out here that will question sometimes that. So thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor Retzloff. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor say aye. Motion passes.
Resolution 22 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution regarding the 2018 Kenosha County Budget Advisory Levy Objective. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, no. Kubicki, yes. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Dodge, excused. Gens, yes.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I'd move resolution number 22.
I have a first by Supervisor Rose and a second by Supervisor Retzloff. Supervisor Rose.
This is an annual resolution that has come before the board upon recommendation of the Finance Committee for over 10 years. And it is an advisory levy objective to give to the county executive at least some sense of where the board will support any type of budget increases. This particular proposal says a tax levy may increase in an amount not to exceed 2.75% over the 2017 general purpose property tax levy. Doesn't mean that it has to hit 2.75. In the recent past, the county executive's office has presented budgets to us many times which were less than the budget, the levy objective. This resolution was originally authored and supported by the county board because budgets had been presented to us which greatly exceeded any figures that we have ever seen in any of the subsequent resolutions which have been passed. We have presented in the past a list of budget increases that one saw in the past. Some were 6%, 8%. I think there was one, two, over 10%. So that this resolution, I think, has had a very strong impact in keeping the tax levy down. We're urging your support this evening. This does not take away any of our authority to reduce that proposition, the budget, when it comes before this board. But it is a sense that we don't want to see anything in excess of 2.75%. So the committee considered it, endorsed it. We ask your endorsement this evening.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Von Frederick, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I want to let your board know that I voted no on this. The reason I voted no is I felt that this isn't necessary. I felt that the county executive can bring a budget in as to what he expects he needs to run the county. And if it's more or less than that, I'm not suggesting that's my cap. I'm just suggesting that he ought to bring in a budget that he thinks he needs to run the county, and I don't think this is necessary. That's why I didn't vote for it. Not because I don't agree or disagree with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Skalitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Chairman Rose for the Finance Committee, can you explain to the board how the percentage of 2.75 was derived specifically?
If you take a look at page 3, the 2018 levy forecast, I think that sets forth what the administration believes would be the anticipated increases in the levy, ranging from health insurance at the top at $975,000 down to $100,000 for IT data processing expense increases. That is your list of at least what they project would be your increases in the budget. The next section sets forth what might be decreases in the levy. Sales tax revenue increase of $350,000. Some circuit court treasurer revenue increases, only $100,000. And those would be decreases from 2016. There are some projected levy increases for operations there, and what we pay for debt service increases of some $550,000. And so they came up with a 2018, at least, projected increase of almost $3,425,000. The numbers below there take a look at what the 2018 and 2017 county general purpose levy was, and thus we came up bottom line at the 2.75% after doing the numbers that you see before you.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. I've repeatedly heard from both the Finance Administration as well as the administration overall how robust the Kenosha economy is, how everybody's the rest of the state is envious of our financial development and business development in the area, and I concur. I think that that's an outstanding development, but yet I have yet to see any reduction in the taxation to constituents and residents in the area. Yet we've just bonded another 18 million plus, which will be a long-term debt service. And in addition, we continue to fund the High Impact Fund, which has resulted in some positive things around here. But yet, we don't want to address the healthcare issue for the county, which is substantial and continues to drive costs upward. And now we want to also increase our levy another 2.75%. Although I do support the levy resolution because I think it's an excellent guidance for the administration. I don't think that we try to drive for a reduction, for an improvement in efficiency and a reduction in spending enough. And so what I would like to do is I'm going to make a motion to reduce this levy to 0%. And I would like to see some support in this because I would love for the taxpayers, especially after the stories I hear about delinquent properties not paying their taxes, to see some relief in their own property tax bills. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Skalitsky. We have a motion on the floor. Yep, there was a second by Supervisor Bostrom. And I'm going to clear the board and we will talk on that. Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I think it's well to note the numbers at the bottom here of this 2018 levy forecast because they also tell a story here. The estimate for new construction in 2016 was 2.65%, and we're asking or proposing in this advisory recommendation 2.75%. I think that's a pretty significant number because so much of this increase is going to be funded by new construction, and that's been substantial. If you also look at the bottom of the page, it talks about, well, what are the projected taxes on a $100,000 home in 2018 be inflation adjusted. 2016, it says $487 and change. 2017, $491, an increase. And then in 18, a decrease down to $477. And so I think that is very laudable, and it's, I think, attributable here to good budgeting and new construction. What Supervisor Sklizitsky says here about health insurance increases, this is a nationwide issue. Hospital costs, doctor costs, and all these things that attended to it keep going up, and there is no control on those. Thus, you will see health insurance prescription drug cost increase in this budget of $975,000 projected for 2018. Now, there are many ways there are only a few ways, unfortunately, of handling that. You can pass it off to the employee, but it's still an increase. It doesn't solve the problem, and we have passed off increases to the county employees, and they're paying more than they did in the past. In the past, they weren't paying anything, and then we gradually introduced contributions. You can continue to deal with that and propose that in the 2018 budget, but the increase is still there. It's only a question of who is going to pay. Those employees are taxpayers as well, so it doesn't do anything to the increase. This is a nationwide issue of these ever-increasing bills that from hospitals, doctors, prescription drugs, supplies, medical equipment, and it's no answer to merely say, well, we'll pass the increase on to somebody else, we won't pay it. We are also the somebody else.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This yearly is the most ridiculous debate it has been since there started to be naysayers here on how we come to a budget. I believe I irritated people last year saying the same thing. But until we have our very competent staff, our finance department, all of our competent staffs from the highways, parks, human services, put together their budgets and see exactly what's needed and what condition the county is in. You heard this evening, and you've heard repeatedly how our bond rating is here. We have done fiscally magnificent things here in Kenosha County in the last 6 or 7 years. So to put restraints, I realize people want to do it, and it's very popular on the county executive. It hasn't worked. He's come together with very sound budgets. It has worked well. You want to throw a zero out there to feel great tonight about yourself? It's not going to work. It may be able to be done. He's done it in the past. And our people have done it in the past. This year, it may not be, but this to me is always the most ridiculous debate that we have for the whole year. And you want to feel good tonight, say zero. I'll sit here the extra half hour that we have this evening to do it. I'll vote for the 2.75. I won't vote for the zero. I'll vote for 1.86. I don't really care. To me, it's a huge waste of time until our people do their work, and believe me, our people in the groups that I work with have been doing their work for months. The budgets are just about together, if not together. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Overman. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I first turned my light on before Supervisor Skalitsky made the motion, I was tending to lean towards Supervisor Frederick's line of thinking that, I don't see the use or need for a resolution such as this. But not that I don't want to set at least an expectation for staff and for the county executive of what I may support, but I don't want to handcuff myself to saying that I'm, just blindly interested in raising a levy, for whatever reason. A couple of things alarm me, and I mentioned them tonight. I mean, I don't know how delinquent property tax owners affects the budget. I've asked the question a number of times. I mean, it may be as simple as it doesn't. They may be, booking a payable and offsetting it with a receivable that they never collect, and somehow we're losing interest over here. I need to know that. Otherwise, how can I vote on a budget? Another alarming thing in this resolution is the level of debt service is going up. Well, why is that? Interest rates have remained static for the last 3 years, 4 years. Means we're taking on more debt. Why are we taking on more debt? So I guess I seconded the motion for the zero because I didn't want to handcuff myself into saying that I will blindly accept 2 3/4 increase in the levy. I'd rather set the bar at zero, see how close we can get to it. If we can't, we can't. If we can, great. But I'd like to at least make the effort.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Supervisor Decker, you have the floor.
I have a few questions on the numbers in the 2018 levy forecast. I don't know if Supervisor Rose wants to answer these or defer them to someone else. So the health insurance prescription cost increase, $975,000. What has the county board done to address the ever skyrocketing cost and increases of our health insurance? What changes have we made?
Yeah, I think we need to keep the debate based on the...
I'm asking this because I want to know what we're doing to see if we can lower the levy and get it at 0%. Just basic questions. Are we actually looking at reducing costs, or are we just, letting the costs just increase and not actually work on reducing costs of different things?
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
I'm explaining my...
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
State your point.
We are debating a amendment or a resolution for a 0% increase here. We are not debating health insurance costs.
An advisory.
An advisory.
Thank you.
And I'm asking these questions to see if 0 is more appropriate or 2.75. That's why I'm asking these questions.
Supervisor Rose, keep your answers short, please.
I will be short. Mr. Riedel isn't here this evening. He's that expert in the issues of personnel and health insurance. I think we've done a great deal in that area. He could enumerate the specifics. Employees now make a contribution to their health insurance premiums. That wasn't always true. If you recall, we had a flex spending account which was completely eliminated a number of years ago. That was money put into each employee, whether it was single or family, was a different amount. And that was completely put in there by, there was a large county contribution. Granted, an employee could voluntarily also put money into the flex benefit plan. The county contribution is out. We still have a flex benefit plan, but that's their own money. We don't put any money into that, and we haven't done that for a number of years. In terms of prescription drugs, and I wasn't prepared really to answer the question that was posed. I think it's a legitimate question, but these are things that I just recall. In terms of prescription drugs, there's a higher copay that an employee has to pay if you are getting a name brand drug. If it's a generic drug, the copay is less, but that copay is greater today than it was a number of years ago. And I say I can't give you the exact amount, but there's definitely a savings there. There most recently was announced that through Humana, who administers our self-insurance fund, we're actually not paying premium. This is premiums basically to ourselves. But Humana does administer it. With respect to prescription drugs, there's going to be you can order prescription drugs through their system, which is apparently going to save some money as opposed to going to your local pharmacy. It's an option, it's not a requirement, but I think there will be some savings there. Certain health insurance providers, I know Kenosha Hospital or United Hospital and Aurora, contract giving discounts if you go to there. But if you go out of network, it's going to cost you more as an employee than if you stay within networks. I'm sure there are others, but these are the ones that just come to mind off the cuff here without being fully prepared to answer the question if Mr. Riedel were here. And I certainly could ask him to be here the next time to give a more comprehensive report. I think the issue is certainly understood, and he is, and we are trying to address these things, and these are things that have been adopted over the years by this county board.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. So those are the things in the past, so nothing is in the works. Or moving forward, we don't have any plans to change anything to reduce our health insurance costs, because those are all past things that were done several years ago. Okay, thank you.
There will not be anything that's presented at this time that comes out with the budget.
Thank you.
No. Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wisconsin has one of the highest property tax rates in the country, and Kenosha County has the distinction of being one of the property hotspots in the nation. Kenosha County's equalized value went up over 4% from 2016 to 2017, and with all the businesses moving into our county and the hot residential property market here, I expect that the 2018 equalized value will be at least 4% and probably higher. With our equalized valuation going up over 4% a year, you would think that the county spending could at least stay even with the rate of inflation. And speaking of inflation, the U.S. Department of Labor reported inflation, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, fell again last month. Inflation slowed to 1.6 annualized rate in June. This is down from 1.9% and also down from 2.7% in February. We're being asked to approve a 2.75% levy objective while the rate of inflation is dropping and is now at 1.6% for the year. I believe county government needs to live within some financial constraints. Taxpayers do not have an unlimited ability to pay higher taxes. I hear from seniors they can barely afford to pay their taxes and stay in their houses. I also hear from young families that have just bought a house and that they need their taxes low so they can afford their house payment. Therefore, I support Supervisor Skalitsky's motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Retzloff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be quick, but why this is sort of an issue right now is because, as I learned in our Finance Committee, as explained to me by you old vets, we used to get 8% increases, and no one said anything. That's what that was. It's like, really? Didn't you guys say anything? No, the executive brings the budget to us and we just approve it because we know he's done his good work through his diligence in committees. Really? Okay. So I understand that this goes back to a past supervisor that put this in, because if it wasn't, he's coming in at these 8, 9, like Mr. Rose said, 8, 9%. So to think this isn't important, especially if you guys have been around here a long time, should we go for 9 and say nothing? He comes at 9, then what are you going to do? okay? I ask the younger people or the new people on this board, when you're on these committees, go through each budget and try to take out some of this money. I'm personally going to have some options made on this health insurance plan. As some of you know, it's my business. I've been involved in that, and this thing needs a lot of work. And I probably will not get there alone because I don't have the support. I've asked many things from Mr. Ritos, and I've worked with them. I don't get it. I'm concerned that we just will not see anything big at this. I'm going to ask for an HSA plan with some high deductibles. I'm going to look at spouse carve-out. I know this stuff is going to be difficult, but this is important. This is what we do. So if it wasn't for the past, I would think this 2.76 is meaningless, but not from what I was told from the history of this place. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Retzloff. Supervisor Ron Frederick, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, this is exactly the reason that I voted no on the resolution, because we get into this same discussion and we'll get about 4 or 5 votes that'll vote for 0 and whatever, and it's all futile because the budget's going to come in and we're going to have a chance to do it with our will with it one way or the other. So that's why I'm going to vote no on the 2.75 and I'm going to vote no on the 0, because I don't think it's necessary. Let the executive come in with his budget and let us do what we have to do. Then that'll make it, maybe it'll make us go to work. Because when's the last time you remember that we took anything out of the budget? You know, we do a lot of bonding. You know, there's always complaints about bonding. Guess what bonding is? Bonding is roads. Guess where those roads are? They're not in the city. They're in the rural area. But that's okay, because we have to do it. I don't have a problem with that. But but some are going to vote against the budget no matter what it does. Okay, that's where we are, guaranteed. So I'm going to vote for the budget when it gets to the end, but I'm not going to support any kind of percentage right now because I think it's futile. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Frederick. Supervisor Grady, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to limit my comments to the proposed 0% item that we're talking about. We do agree, I think, mainly in this room, that having a budget statement such as this is an advisable thing. Few exceptions, but most of us in this room have seen the benefits of having an advisory such as we have. There was a time for a 0% increase. And those times were in the past when the county was struggling, when the economy was in poor shape, made perfect sense for that time. But it doesn't take a lot to look around and see how this is a county that's on the rise. People are moving in, businesses are seeking us, people want to live here, want to have their homes and their business here. So as a forward-thinking entity or body, we have to be able to plan for that. We have to have the infrastructure, we have to have the roads, we have to have the things that make us continue to be a desirable place to locate. So 2.75% to myself, 2.76% I think is entirely reasonable. I think it's a good representation. I will support that. I will not support the 0%. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Grady. Seeing no other lights, we will go ahead and vote on the proposed. Oh, again?
Yeah, I had my light up.
It wasn't lighting up.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
I just briefly, did you recognize me or?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. You know, look at the bottom of the page here. It says on the $100,000 home, and I understand that that home goes up in value, but in 2016, a $100,000 home was $487. Projected that $100,000 home in 18 is $477. It's a $10 decrease, not much, but you're not going to see big decreases in taxes, no matter whether it's 0% or 2.75. You're not going to see big decreases. So at 2.75, it's a $10 decrease. Also, I think it's important to analyze those anticipated increases. And I understand there's some health care proposals here that can be made at $975. But the personnel expense increases for salaries, you've already voted on that. That's $875,000 alone. That's done deal. Now, if to cut that 875 down to zero means you're going to have to lay off a good number of people to get that 875 to zero, I don't think it's been the board's position that every time we give an wage increase, we then eliminate X number of employees to meet the wage increase that we previously authorized. We have not done that before. But if that is what you were suggesting, well, keep in mind what kind of impact that's going to have on those departments and the services rendered if your position is zero, but we give you who are left an increase, and then we eliminate a group to pay that increase. That's not good governing. Now, there are some other proposals here, increases in the sheriff's department, always difficult to deal with. If you want to eliminate that, that's $275. Joint Services has a number of new things. There's that software project, et cetera, and perhaps some employees. That's $250. That's where that's going to come from. And you have a Department of Public Works increase at $225. There are some positions that are going to be eliminated. So it says net new position levy increase $200,000. Workers' compensation insurance increase $100,000. I don't know what you can do about that unless you're going to eliminate employees, and that's kind of a random thing because you don't know who is going to be injured or where those payments are going to be made at workers' compensation. That's all governed by the state. IT data processing expense increase $100,000. I suppose you could eliminate that. But I think that putting it at zero based upon those anticipated levy forecasts is an impossible task unless you bite the bullet and start eliminating quite a number of employees. I have yet to see any board wholesale get rid of that many employees to meet a zero increase. I don't see it's possible, but you do what you like. I think 272.75 is a top cap. Doesn't mean that the executive isn't going to come in less, may very well come in less, but I know very well that when we didn't have these resolutions, they were 8% and 9%, and yes, there were people, Supervisor Retzloff, who voted against them, but the majority voted for them, and you could never get a majority to defeat those kinds of increases. Thus, the power of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Franco, you have the floor.
Supervisor Rose answered my question just now.
Okay. Has everyone else spoken once?
I haven't.
I know, I'm getting to you. Vice Chair, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I really didn't want to speak on this, but I guess I'm going to have to. This is an advisory resolution. This is what we do this every year. We had some debate in the Finance Committee about this too. If you want zero, roll your sleeves up and get to work when the budget comes. We can bring in zero. I'm all for a zero. But this was put in by Supervisor Clark because we were having 8, 10, 12% increases. It's fiscally and financially responsible, but to come in at a zero and give no latitude for our administration to do anything, I just can't support that. I can support a zero, but I think supervisors got to get to work and maybe do a little heavy lifting on their own instead of the administration doing it. I didn't really want to speak on this because I agree with Supervisor Alverman. This is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. We have this debate every year. I think it's a sound number. I will support it. I do want to see supervisors go to work. I'd like to see every supervisor at budget meetings, which we don't see. And I bet you we won't see them this year. If you're really that bent on saving money for the taxpayer, then show up to meetings. But I bet you 75% of this body will not be at the budget meetings. But they'll have questions on the county board floor. That's just unacceptable. You know, do your work. Do your work. Come to the Finance Committee meeting, even if you're not part of it. These questions we debated this last Thursday.
But to spend time on the county board floor, you know, kudos to Supervisor Alverman, an extra 30 minutes or probably now an hour, for something that, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous to me. And I didn't want to pontificate on this because it just seems like we do this every year. It's a merry-go-round. But, you know, hey, I'm all for zero. I'm all for being fiscally and financially responsible to taxpayers. I'm all for taxpayers saving money. I'm all for taxes going down. But don't put it on somebody else. Put it on yourself. Start doing some work. You know, like Terry said, cut the budget, cut here, cut there. This is what we need to do. The budget comes before us. And there was a debate about, well, the administration and the county executive is going to come somewhere around that number. That's a different debate for a different day. But I think we need to move forward in a positive direction and really say, A, how can we save money? Let's really look at big ticket items that can save the county and come together and accept that we need to move forward instead of backwards, because that's what we're doing right now. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to clear the board. If anyone else wants to talk on this, now's your chance. What? Yes, this is on the amendment. Roll call has been requested. Yes, if you are for the amendment at 0%. No, if you are against the amendment. The amendment fails. We are going back to the advisory at 2.75%. If anyone else needs to speak on that. Supervisor Decker, you have the floor.
I would just like to comment that last year, the Planning Development and Extension Education Committee took out, I believe, $40,000 out of their budget. We sent it that way to the Finance Committee, and they put it back in. So, you know, you're telling us to work hard and find places to cut. We do, and then the Finance Committee just puts it back in. $40,000, you know, really? You had to put it back in because, God forbid, you change the county executive's budget and actually tweak it. And when people say, come to the Finance Committee with the budget hearings, please, it's like they can't get out of there fast enough after the pieces get presented. It is just a rubber stamp, and it is a waste of my 35-minute drive in and out to watch the rubber stamps at the committee meeting when they actually put money back in that the committee took out.
Thank you. Supervisor Sklitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're elected as representatives of the taxpayers, not advocates for the administration. Our goal should be to challenge the administration to find new ways to decrease spending and be more efficient, not rubber stamp or just simply say yes, because I concur with Supervisor Decker. I have been to the finance meeting and I've been to other committee meetings. You make an effort to take something out, it gets voted down, and as always, it gets passed through. In this case, the budget will be brought to us at 2.75 increase. That is not challenging the administration to find new and better ways to do things more efficiently. And that's what my goal was there. Challenge to reduce the taxes that our constituents who we represent have to pay. And that's why I still support the amendment resolution. But I don't like the fact that we simply accept whatever the administration proposes. There's no challenge here. So yeah, we can try to, roll up our sleeves and get busy and whatnot to watch it all be put right back in, because I've watched it happen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. Just let me address a couple of comments with respect to what Supervisor Decker said. Just because something has been restored doesn't mean that we don't encourage, and we certainly do, your thoughts and proposals in the future, so don't be discouraged. I don't think the Finance Committee is a rubber stamp at all, and I doubt very seriously that the board feels that way as well. You certainly, at any time, can vote anything that we offer to you down. But there are very, very few times that the Finance Committee's proposals presented to this board have been defeated. A few of them have been referred back, but I'd have to do the research, but I don't recall any proposals that this board has considered that have been either presented to the board or sent back to committee and then re-presented that have been defeated. So you have the opportunity certainly to defeat them. You can do that. We're not rubber stamps at any means. Supervisor Skolitsky says he wants to challenge the budget. I'm all for that, but let's hear the specifics on it. Let's see if it garners support. The proposition this evening was meant, as it has been since its original origin. Supervisor Clark proposed it, I seconded it, as a budget restraint. It was a conservative effort to maintain and reduce the budget from the high budgets that were being presented to us by former county executives at 8, 9, 10, 12%. We thought it was too much, so we came in with this as a budget restraint to get a lower budget, not a higher budget. So I think your comments here, while important and to be considered, are certainly being misjudged when you consider what the history of the resolution is.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Retzlaff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One comment that I can make is I've asked a couple other counties how they do their budgets, just for my own sake. And one of the things I found out about Racine that's different than us is what they do is when they take someone on the committee, say whatever it is, judicial, planning and development, and when the county executive and his staff go in and discuss the budget for the coming year, there is a representative on the board there in Racine that asks questions, goes through numbers, is prepared. That's way different than us. Each one of, even the committee members aren't necessarily prepared as has been expressed. I can use a perfect example that was in law enforcement with the sheriff. Supervisor Skolitsky and I questioned the need for some new patrol cars. And to be honest, David Beth, who's a great sheriff, bit my head off. I even suggested it. That probably was a place where we could have saved some money, but that would have taken some work before that meeting. I can't, at a committee meeting, how can I bring this up in a 2-minute meeting with him, in a presentation, just say, how about the squad cars? Do we really need these new ones? So forth. So possibly as some leadership around here, maybe we can look at this. Let's maybe do this different. Maybe we should have a committee person at these meetings so that there is places that they can at least explain it, go, you know what, I went through that budget, and it is good, and the executive and so forth asked to cut that, and at least we could feel good about it. It's just my comment about that, Madam Chair. I think some of the comments being made are well taken both sides on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Retzlaff. Supervisor Overman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As long as we're going to be here, might as well jump in. I've always been invited, and I've been involved in the budgets ever since I've been chairman of a committee, with various committees, not just facilities, highways, and parks. Supervisor Retzlaff, you're dead wrong. Ever since when I was chairman of administration, I was involved in the budget. I'm sure Supervisor Rose is. I think every chairman. I have meetings with the staff, and I'm never surprised. The only other thing I want to say, and I know there's some financial geniuses sitting in this room, and this is going to baffle some of you, but when you have a 8.5 or 9.2 or 7.6 levy increase, look back. Your taxes can actually be decreasing. If you understand what happens when you have an evaluation increase, you can spend more on different things. There was many years living in Powers Lake where I live, which is a expensive community to live in. that my taxes went down when our levies were 7, 8, and 9. All I want to say, look it up, it doesn't always mean people's taxes went up. They did not. My taxes remained stagnant for 8 or 9 years. And now, they've gone up a little bit when we've done the 0, and we've done the 1.6 and the 2 because the schools have changed. And the state, God help us, does not know how to help us in any way. Right now, what you're asking us to do, or what you asked us with your 0, was exactly what finally Robin Voss has realized we can't keep up. Scott Fitzgerald and the governor haven't quite figured it out yet, but we're going to suffer big time, and we are suffering big time, because the state has done what you're asking us to do. Drop everything. We can't do that. Kenosha County can't afford it. We have to move forward.
I still have people on the board that have not spoken. Supervisor Gens, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is mental gymnastics. We go through it all the time. Usually, I speak against having this resolution because of exactly this. I bit my tongue because every year it just goes on. But this is an advisory number, and I know how I do my work when it comes to budget time. If I have questions, I meet with the directors of the departments. I don't even wait till committee meetings. So I do the legwork up front. And anybody who sat next to me on finance knows I have highlighted spots in my budget. I read every line. You know, I look at it and I try to understand if there's increases or decreases. I want to know what's going on with the money. I've been on the finance committee for 10 years and I haven't rubber stamped anything. Nobody's told me how to vote and how to rubber stamp anything. So I resent that comment. But you look at us as a county, and for the years I've been on the board, how many projects have we done because we want them? Very, very few. I mean, this is a need budget. We're the arm of the state. There's not a lot of extra cake frosting on our budgets. Okay, it's not like, you know, and the city budgets well, but they have the ability to do some different things with, you know, fountains or whatever they choose to do, because they can do that. They can do more of the wants. We don't have a lot of that. Our budgets are pretty much down to the bare bones of what we need to do. Technology is advancing, salaries go up. I mean, like Supervisor Rose said, I don't want any tax increase, but to run the government, you need to support it. So this mental gymnastics drives me insane every year, but we'll do it. I will not be supporting 0. I certainly recommend anybody. I'm not going to give the roll up the sleeve speech, but you know, get in there and do the work and look at it. And if you want something and you could show a case for it, I mean, there's not a lot of extra in our budget. I'm going to defend the fiscal responsibility of this county board for the 10 years I've sat on it and been on the finance committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Ron Frederick, you have the floor.
I just sat here and heard what I was accused of not doing my job at finance. Every one of you is on a committee, and you go through your budgets, parks, whatever, and you bring a figure into the finance committee. When it gets to us, I never see a change in it. I see the same number coming in from the committee that's presented by the department. Maybe there's some changes that maybe I've missed. So you've got a job to do at your committee too. So don't be pointing a finger at the finance committee and saying we're not doing our job. Do your job at committee. Dig into your budget. You know it better than most of us. But when you start pointing a finger at another committee and saying you're not doing your job and it's a waste of your time, then stay home. That's up to you. But don't be accusing other committees of not doing their job if you're not doing your own.
Okay. I have a first and second to call the question.
To be recognized.
Oh. Too late. Nope. Supervisor Skalitsky, you're up.
No.
No? Okay. Supervisor Gens?
I don't want to talk. I already talked. Oh, now I'll call the question. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Second.
I have a first by Supervisor Gens and a second by Supervisor Elverman to call the question. All those in favor, say aye. Okay. Hold on. Oh, I guess she is ready. Yes, if you want to call the question. No, if you don't. Motion passes.
Okay, now you're on to the,
It's the only thing everybody agreed on tonight.
Okay, on the 2.75% advisory levy. Roll call has been requested. Yes, if you are for the resolution. No, if you are against the resolution. It's not working. There we go.
I'll fix it. That's okay, we'll fix it.
That's 2/3, Joe. What's 2/3? Already called the question.
All right, so that passed. It was 13. It was,
Okay, motion passes.
and we're moving on to 23. Are you ready?
We are on 23.
I just want to make sure she's ready before I start. Resolution 23 from the Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Benjamin Harbuck to the Kenosha County Board of Administrative Appeals. Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Poole, yes. Berg, excused. Blau, excused. Dodge, excused. Retzlaff, yes.
Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
Motion to move resolution 23.
I have a motion by Supervisor Gable and a second by Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Gable.
This is a reappointment of Benjamin Harbuck.
Can you speak into your mic, please?
I'm sorry. This is a reappointment of Benjamin Harbuck to the Board Administrative Appeals.
It's a reappointment?
It's a reappointment. He's made the majority of the meetings, so it's not a problem.
Okay. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 24 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Lou Molitor to Kenosha County Workforce Development Board. Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Poole, yes. Berg, excused. Blau, excused. Dodge, excused. Retzlaff, yes.
Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
Motion to move resolution 24.
I have a first by Supervisor Gable, a second by Supervisor Retzlaff. Supervisor Gable.
This is a reappointment of Lou Molitor to the Workforce Development Board. He's been on it for, I think this is his third term.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 25 from the Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Sandra Basilica to the Kenosha County Board of Administrative Appeals. Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Poole, yes. Berg, excused. Blau, excused. Dodge, excused. Retzlaff, yes.
Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
I move motion
Resolution 25.
I have a first by Supervisor Gable, a second by Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Gable.
Again, this is another reappointment to the board that she's been on. We have no issues.
Okay. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 29, or 26, from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution for cabaret license, Wilmot Mountain. Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Retzloff, yes. Galitsky, yes. Wamble, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move motion 26.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau and a second by Supervisor Retzloff. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wilmot Mountain was found to be in conformity with the county ordinances during its probationary period for 6 months. So now a regular cabaret license has been granted, and we ask for your approval.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 27, from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Mark Midori to serve on the Kenosha Joint Services Board. Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, yes. Retzloff, yes. Galitsky, yes. Wamble, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move motion 27.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau and a second by Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Blau.
This is a reappointment for Mr. Mark Midori. He will be succeeding himself. All of his absences has been excused, and Mark is a well-known committee person, different committees. He's been on the county board. Also, he's been an alderman, so he comes highly recommended, and we ask for your approval.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Supervisor Gens, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a little bit about how this works. He is the independent member with the 3 city and the 3 county, and with each term, the county exec and the mayor take turns offering somebody up for this position. Frankly, they both agree on this one. So he does come to the meetings. He's knowledgeable. He's fair. So he is a good asset to joint services. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gens. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 28, from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, a resolution regarding Brighton Woods Orchards Incorporated owner, William H. Stone agent, requests an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 54 of the comprehensive plan, from Farmland Protection, PEC, and SEC, to Farmland Protection, General Agricultural and Open Land, PEC and SEC, Town of Brighton. Decker, yes. Poole, yes. Galitsky, excused. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Decker, you have the floor.
Go ahead. I don't want to move it.
Madam Chair, at this time, I would like to, I wanted to wait till this item came up because it was tied to item 10, where I mistakenly and confusingly voted no. So I would like to reopen that at this time for discussion and my vote, please. I'd like to go back to item 10.
Make a motion to reconsider.
We're checking.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider item 10.
Who voted with the majority? And he did.
Okay. But this was 8.
He can, right. And then it's debatable. Okay, we are, I have a motion on the floor by Supervisor Gens to reopen item 10, or reconsider item 10. And does the second also have to be from someone who, no? Second. I have a second by Supervisor Decker.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to send that item 10 back to the committee so that they can hammer out the differences, because I was dissatisfied with the debate we had with the chair saying something, one of the supervisors saying something, and I was a little confused with that. So I'd like to have that sent back to the committee. That would be mine.
Okay. First, we have to take a vote to reconsider. So I don't see any lights on here, so we will go ahead and take that vote. All in favor to reconsider, say aye. Aye. Oh, We have a roll call? Yep. Yes.
There's nothing, but I'll try. I'm gonna talk right now.
Did I need to?
They got defeated sound, so there's something wrong. Because the guy wouldn't line around.
It's not going back, so.
All right.
But you can still put it on the agenda. It's a new, revised.
Sklitsky. Change your vote.
Why wouldn't the guy line around?
Because he's planning on building a barn on his property.
Doesn't need majority.
Road is a driveway. He's planning on building a barn like that will use a different driveway in like 3 years.
The motion fails.
He didn't want to do it.
Oh. Supervisor Sklitsky would like to change his vote to yes.
Make him do it with the rezoning.
No.
So you don't rezone?
Then it passes. All right.
It affects us, the rezoning.
Sure think he would just do it.
Well, no, then it's tied.
What's the vote?
It passed.
Oh, thank you. Now I'll make a motion to send this back to committee.
Second.
There we go. I have a first and a second to send it back to committee.
Along with item 28 that we're on, since they're tied together.
There you go.
Can I speak on this?
Seeing no lights, all those in favor to refer this back, pardon? Oh, I didn't know if that was,
It's not working. I apologize to everyone for not answering, well, I'm sorry. I apologize for not speaking on Supervisor Bostrom's comments on item number 10. I didn't see anyone having any questions, so I figured you guys were all okay with the resolution and the ordinance. Moving it back to committee, I'm not sure if anything can be done. Mr. Stone was given his conditional use permit approved by the committee, and the town of Brighton supported it. The town of Brighton actually supported not having the widening of his driveway. It's not a road, it's his driveway. They did not approve of that. It was put in the CUP without, after the town of Brighton discussed it, and Mr. Stone came to the meeting and was not aware that it was even put in the CUP, so he was caught by surprise. He also plans on building a new barn in the near future that would have a completely different driveway. So for us to request him to spend tens of thousands of dollars on widening a driveway that actually is a driveway to his house, or a house on the property, asking him to widen the driveway and incur all these costs for just use for a few years, the town. Yep. No, none taken. Right. Okay. Okay.
I just want to get it back to the committee, make sure you guys have sorted everything out, and you come back to us with the best you can. We don't need to debate this again. Thank you.
May I continue, or should I just? I'm just trying to explain what's going to happen, and I support moving it back to committee. I just, as the chair, don't know if anything's going to get changed, because he's already been issued his conditional use permit, which is where we could have asked for him to change the driveway. We can't do it in zoning and changing his comp plan. So.
thank you. Okay. Supervisor Retzloff, you have
Can
the floor.
Madam Chair, I won't waste time on this. I know everyone wants to get out of here, but can I ask you through a Corp Counsel a question through you? Explain if we vote no on various rezoning issues like this, what happens?
I would actually probably defer to Mr. Bueller, who's in the back of the room. I'm not aware that it's happened in the past.
Okay.
I don't think that I've seen a
All right.
zoning request refused or rejected.
So if we can vote yes, we have to vote yes to approve it. That means we can vote no, correct? Right?
Certainly.
Okay. In the whole history of this county, no one's ever voted no against this? This is the first one, Mr.?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm not aware
I'm
of
sorry.
one. In the time that I have been attending these meetings,
Okay.
which is probably in the neighborhood of 5 years now, I don't think I've seen a zoning request turned away. Maybe primarily because the work is done at the committee, and it's done in conjunction with not only our planning and development committee, but with the local authorities.
Okay, so that still doesn't sort of, we still have the right to vote no. This board,
Certainly.
obviously, because we vote, okay, so what happens? That's just my question.
Well, and again, I would defer to Mr. Bueller if he wants to speak to this, but it would be my belief that if the zoning, in this particular instance, if the zoning is refused, then either this individual will have to cease the operations of their business or will be continuing to be operating it in violation of the existing zoning. And that'd be a decision he would have to make, and then consequences would flow from it.
Okay, thanks.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
Well, I'd like to Mr. Bueller to address this is so that at least we understand what we're doing here. If the man has a conditional use permit, he can proceed with this. But the corporation, I would think, but if the corporation council says no, he cannot because he's in violation of zoning. The zoning expert, what's clarify what it is that we vote yes or vote no, what does that mean?
So Andy, basically the question is, if we vote no, I think what we want to know is, can the CUP be reopened if his zoning is denied?
Yes, there's a couple of things I think you need to be aware of. One is, I guess to answer that question is if the rezoning, the conditional use permit still cannot move forward until the rezone and the comp plan move forward. So even though it was approved at committee, it's really kind of just sitting there until the comp plan change and the rezone are changed that would allow for the conditional use permit to move forward. So, okay. The other aspect I wanted to bring up is item number 9 was voted on by the board to approve it, which is the comprehensive plan change. So almost by automatic, by approving the comprehensive plan change, there isn't much of a reason of why the rezone shouldn't be changed, because the rezone request is in concert with the comp plan change. Okay, a comp plan change requires an ordinance and a resolution, and so the ordinance was approved first. Typically, it would.
Oh, sorry.
Item number 28 is the companion resolution to actually item number 9, which is all related to comprehensive plan change, and that was already previously voted on in favor. So I guess what I'm saying is number 9 and 28 are related, and number 10 then follows, which is the rezone, and you already approved item number 9. Does that make sense?
Yes, so if number 9 was reconsidered and sent back to committee, then the other 2 would follow.
Correct, but in this particular case, it was item number 10.
Right.
That was the rezone. But then again, if the rezone and the comp plan are not passed, a conditional use permit cannot move forward. No, it would mean that he would be in violation, and we would have to figure out ways to resolve that. That his business had expanded over the years to require these changes, and that's what was being addressed. Is that originally it started out as a winery, and then it grew into a winery and cheese making and donut making and selling brats and things. And to do all that, his existing zoning was not sufficient, and so he was requesting these changes so he could be compliant with his current operations.
Supervisor Rose, did you have any other questions?
So is it your recommendation
It's on. Nope, now it is.
Would you, what is your recommendation, that we refer all three of these items back to committee, or two?
I would say to be consistent, it would
Yeah.
really need all three.
So the motion should be that items 9, 10, and 28 be referred back to the committee for whatever action they want to take.
I make that
Supervisor,
refer these items back now, then make a motion to reconsider 9, and then send that back.
Supervisor Gens was adding 9 to his reconsideration.
No, we already voted on that, so we have to
Right.
vote separate.
Did we already vote? We didn't vote.
Yeah, we did. We voted, to reconsider, we voted.
Okay, well,
Not to send it back.
Right, there is a motion pending on the floor.
Can I modify my motion? It depends. That's excellent. Which is a very lawyer answer. What does it depend on? The weather?
What do you want to modify it to?
I want to modify it to take 9 along with it.
Okay. 9 is currently not in play.
Okay.
A motion would have to be made to reconsider 9, and before we can do that, we either need to withdraw the motion on the floor or vote on the motion on the floor and then move to 9.
Vote on the motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor is
The motion on the
I didn't
floor
write
is...
Robert's rules, I just report them.
motion on the floor is 10 and 20 back.
I'm not arguing with you.
No, it's just to send 20...
It's to send 10 and 28 to committee.
Right, the motion on the floor right now is to send 10,
Vote on this than what we have, and then I'll make a motion to reconsider my vote on number 9.
Okay.
That's fine. As long as we're down the path this far, let's vote on it, and then we'll.
Okay. Does everyone understand that? We're going to vote on sending 10 and 20 back, 28 back, and then we will reconsider number 9.
Thank you.
It's illegal.
And that's a roll call, correct? Or is that just a motion?
It only needs a simple majority. I don't care if we do a roll call or not.
This does not need to be a roll call unless someone wants it to be a roll call.
No.
Okay. All those in favor of sending 10 and 28 back to the committee, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
We need to know who seconded Jeff's.
Supervisor Skolitsky, you have the floor.
I'd ask Director Bueller to come back to the podium, please. For the sake of the board, because this particular property is in my district, and I have been out there, and it is very rural. Could you expound a little bit about, because I think there's some concerns from Supervisor Bostrom's statements regarding the widening of this driveway. How many neighbors are there? How many complaints? Because I was on the working committee call that we talked about this, and I thought it was very straightforward, because what it does is it brings this business into compliance with current zoning requirements.
Supervisor Skolitsky, we're going to have to change this because we've already moved on
Okay.
from that part. Right now, we're voting on... What? I did not call for the nays. Yeah, I was in the middle of voting. So, anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion passes to refer, right, to refer 10 and 28 back to committee. Supervisor Gens has a motion.
I would like to consider item number 9, please.
I have a first and a second by Supervisor Decker to reconsider number 9. Any discussion on reconsideration? Seeing no lights, all those in favor to reconsider number 9? Opposed? Motion passes. Now we are voting on moving number 9. We have a first by Supervisor Gens, a second by Supervisor Decker to send number 9 back to committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That was confusing.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I'm on the right one now.
Okay, we're on 29.
All right.
Wait, are we?
Yes.
Yep.
Resolution 29 from the Public Works and Facilities and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution regarding We Energy's permanent easement request within the Fox River Water Trail, Wilmot. Alverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day excused. Gilmore, yes. Wambolt excused. Bostrom, yes. Franco excused. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge excused. Kubicki, yes. Esposito, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Elverman, you have the
I
floor.
move Resolution 29.
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman and a second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's a easement request from We Energies for a lift station operated by Salem Lakes along the Fox River. The easement crosses county property near the boat launch, if you're familiar with the Fox River launch there. And we recommend your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Elverman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Communications, declaration of emergency in Kenosha County by County Executive Jim Cruiser.
This is a receive and file, but if you haven't read it, please do so.
Communications from Andy M. Bueller regarding future items scheduled before the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Receive and file.
Claims, Thomas W. Oberst, loss of property.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Dawn Brown, vehicle damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
American Family, Frank Perone, vehicle damage.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the June 20th, 2017 minutes by Supervisor Elverman.
Would so move the June 20th minutes, Madam Chairman?
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman, second by Supervisor Gens. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. I have a first by Supervisor Kubicki to adjourn and a second by Supervisor Gable. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.